I like salad. Do you like salad?
Hi, I'm Hostion Ho. I'm living in Vancouver, BC, Canada, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I am an immigrant to Canada from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea coming to you from Victoria, but more importantly known as unceded Akwesasne territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I am an immigrant from the United States of America. And you're listening to
Canadian salad.
Canadian salad. Hi, Hoshin.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
Hi. I'm very good. Your
That's good.
room looks extra bright today. Where
does.
are you?
We're recording during the day. Amazing. Where our brains are sharp and we're not sleepy. Although I am sleepy. It's allergies. I think my eyes just need like little toothpicks to kind of keep the eyelids open because they're just really itchy. I don't know if you have allergies.
Oh, no.
No, you don't have the white man allergy disease?
No, I don't think white people, to be honest, I always this theory, white people are not built for the wild. You know, you have like allergies of like pollen or
Yes.
grass or leaves or
It's true.
hair,
We are very
peanuts.
fragile.
Like you have lactose intolerance,
Gluten,
intolerance.
acid reflux.
Like if civilization fail, you guys are not gonna survive. If like, I'm not even kidding.
I totally agree. Actually, I do.
I feel like you probably
Yeah.
the first race to be erased from the earth if anything fail.
There's a lot of truth to that because I think of the things you listed, I think I had like 5 or 6. And my husband's got like the other 5 and 6. So, we are doomed people. But karma's a bitch. So
That is funny. Oh my God.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so today, do you know what we're talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, Hoshin, we are talking about this classic question that I have used to my chagrin, and that you've probably heard a lot more than I have.
I heard a lot more
Yes,
than you.
this
Yeah,
question, where are you from?
I know.
Where are you from?
No.
So, where are you from?
So, after all this repetition from Andrea, today we're gonna talk about the question of where are you from and what's behind it. The context
Yes.
of it,
Yeah.
whether it's problematic
Yeah.
to actually ask that question.
These are
I
good
mean,
questions. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you remember that kind of short video on YouTube not long ago
Yes, it's so good.
about this white man. Like I think they were hiking or running or something. This white man
Yeah.
asked this Asian woman, "So where are you from?" And he was like, somewhere in the States. I forgot.
San
I don't
Francisco,
know,
I think is
San
what she
Francisco or
said.
something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry. Where is your parent from? San Francisco or Mississippi or something, and then moved to San Francisco. I was, oh, what about your grandparents? I was like, and then it's like, oh, somewhere from, I don't know, China or
Yeah.
something. I was like, yeah, that's what I mean. And then started related to Chinese things or something.
All these
And then-
stereotypes of
Yeah, all the
where
stereotypes.
of these
I was like,
this
where are you
country of
really
origin.
from?
Yeah,
Exactly. I remember that
exactly.
kind of video was really, really funny. I think it's really good. It captured the struggle of many immigrant face
Yes.
when white people, not necessarily only white people, but white people mostly, I would say,
Yeah,
from a personal
sure.
experience,
For sure.
when white people ask us, where are you from? What the
Yeah.
intent is behind it.
Yes.
When they usually ask that question. And here today, we're going to dissect a little bit of that.
Yeah, yeah. So Hoshin, what's your experience? Give us a bit of the nitty-gritty, gross, oogly boogly of what that experience is for you on your end receiving it.
At the beginning, when I first moved out of China, the first time I moved out to a predominantly white people country was Australia. When people asked me that question, I was very innocent still. So, oh, I'm just from China. Because it's I wasn't really not thinking any of it. But slowly more and more and more and more, no matter how long or how much I'm in the society, really people still love to ask me the question. And usually they don't just ask the question.
Right.
After they ask that question, then and then they feel like they give themselves some sort of validation to, oh, I guess right, you look like you're from there.
Yeah,
You
or
know, they
you're
give
not
themselves
from
this,
here. Yeah.
oh, so, oh,
Yeah.
you're not from here, and then they try to maybe mention something that's very Chinese or that is, oh,
Yeah.
I've been to China, or like, oh, and then they maybe say a word or two or Mandarin, or it's like, Okay, like what is it? Where is this going?
Do you want a trophy?
Why does that?
Yeah, or
Yeah, like what does that matter? Why?
yeah, did they ever ask the question after the where are you from question of, or make the statement, oh, but your English is so good?
Oh, that usually comes after various. It's like, oh my God,
Yes.
but your English is so good.
That's an episode
I
topic.
heard.
We gotta. Mm.
Yes, it's oh, you're from China. Oh, when are you starting learning English? Your English is so good. Or like, oh, I don't know, Chinese does that. Oh, if all the way from China, is your parents here? Are
Gosh.
they okay with
Oh,
that? They're so young. It's just like what?
yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Like you're
so
some
that's
kind of
basically
exotic like thing that they've never encountered or experienced, and they're just gonna like placate everything and anything about you when it's just like
yeah. You
it's
just
you.
try to pick out everything that's
Yeah.
different about you. Just
Yeah.
pick out that try to find every opportunity to order you out to the
Yes.
ordering. It's
Yes.
also you. Oh, okay. I know you look different, so I know you're different. So you're not
Yes.
one of us. And now by asking that question, where are you from? I'm trying to solidify the fact that you are not from here. You are not one of us. You are the other. You are not me.
Mm,
And that's kind of
yeah.
the essence of that question for me. It's
Yes.
very gross, very gross.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Um,
is.
yeah, so
Well,
that's my experience.
yeah.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
about your experience?
Well, I definitely am for sure. I have asked this question of people. And
No one asked you
because
before?
I've had a few people say, look at me, like I've had some people say like you just seem racially ambiguous sometimes. I don't know why. I don't know if they were just joking, but they would be like, "Oh, well, is your are you?" They would just assume I was some kind of different racial
Maybe because your hair.
identity. I
You
don't
have a lot of white
know.
hair.
That's yes, I do. That's my age and my lack of wisdom. But no, yeah. So I would on occasion, but definitely it was never. I don't know. It was a very weird question to be asked to begin with. But I will say, and I will confess that I have asked this question of people whom I, as a white person, racially profiled. So, or if it was an accent that I heard, I would, and I do remember I would ask this of people of color who had accents, but not people who had an accent and not of color. So let's say like a British person, like if they just started talking like this, hello, I'd be like, oh, they're from Britain, they're from UK, whatever. And I wouldn't ask they were from because I just would assume that's where they're from. But yeah, it's one of those things that, and I want to speak to an additional part of what you talked about, like othering. So this is, from my perspective, this was me asking this question for me was an unconscious way of quote unquote trying to be polite or curious about someone. Where you're like, oh, well, where are you? Oh, wow. And then when they make a follow-up comment like, oh, dumplings, I love dumplings. Dumplings are so good. There is this part of whiteness that does want to somehow look as the good, like I'm innocent. I'm relating to you. Look, I'm able to connect with you because I know something about, I'm cultured, right?
Yeah.
But the intent of our words definitely have the complete opposite effect and can harm and hurt the end receiver, which for you were the end receiver, or other people of color or people from different cultural backgrounds, or yeah.
Yeah,
So
because it definitely like generalize us, that's for sure.
yes,
And second is you make it about you.
yes, you do. Yes, we do make it
It's
about
like,
us. Yeah,
I know it's like
absolutely. Absolutely.
you're asking me about me, but then everything I said it goes back to be about you. I was
Right. Like, I
okay,
love
this
dumplings. So I've never been. I've always wanted to go there.
yeah. I was
Or
like,
yes.
okay, is
Yeah.
this game we're playing? Like, no, I don't
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. And you're
Nuh-uh.
not feeling like you're like this person really wants to know me. They just want to kind of separate me from this current
Yeah.
context. Right.
Yes, and like okay, like I nowadays I like to play this different game. So a lot of time I went in the street when people like, especially old people, they would just straightly, I was like, oh, are you Chinese? And I was just like, no. I'll just tell them no.
Nice.
I would never give
Nice.
them that satisfaction. Not that
Yes.
I'm not proud of being Chinese. I just
Of
do not
course, but
want to give them that
don't call
satisfaction.
this. Why are we calling this out? Why is that? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, good for you. I mean,
Yeah,
I
just
will
say
say,
no.
yeah. Let's get into this, Hoshin. Let's get into, you've
That
done all
question,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, this question. Yeah, let's deep
Yeah.
dive.
So where are you from? I want to start with the historical context of our obsession of knowing where people are from. Why
Mm,
do we have this curiosity? Why do we need to ask people where they're from? And also, after we know where they're from, why are we so quickly jump on the boat of finding their differences or validating our assumption of their differences?
yeah.
So that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
historical context I want to get
Mm-hmm.
into. Because this question, where are you from, has been historically used to kind of otherize, again, othering
Yes.
other people, particularly immigrants and people of color, obviously. Um, like throughout history, people like human, of course, has been migrating for various reasons, no matter it's seeking better opportunities or escape conflicts or war.
Sure.
And majority, actually, the one of the big reason is actually colonization. No matter it's the black slave trade or because of war
Mm,
happening, because of colonization that drive people away from the homeland to other
yeah.
safer, quote unquote, safer
Right.
countries is a big reason of migration, especially indigenous land, like in North America.
Yeah.
Like a lot of colonizers came to North America and take lands from indigenous people.
Right.
They quickly developed systems of how to make sure to kind of honor
Yep.
original landowners here. So they
Mm-hmm.
have to ask this question, where are you from? To make them
Mm,
realize, oh, you're not English, you're not French, you're not
mm-hmm.
Irish, you're not one of
Mm-hmm.
us. So
Mm-hmm.
you are being colonized. We are the boss here.
We're telling you where you can be from, right?
Yeah,
Like with
even though
reserves,
technically, yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
that question identifies who they are, who we are. So
Mm,
quickly, just by that question alone, quickly develop this narrative of me versus them. And then, of course, with the expansion of colonization, um, the question also slowly even more used from only to indigenous population settlers to other racial groups, obviously, because more and more people move from everywhere else in the world to seek
yeah.
refuge.
Mm-hmm.
Again, using North America as a context, that question had been used very frequently for racial ethnic discrimination, especially during the early 19th centuries around that time, because there's a huge migration, as we explored last episode about, the Asian immigrants. So where are you from? That question during, for example, the Asian Exclusion Act, no matter it's
Right.
the Japanese, the camp for Japanese or the Chinese Exclusion Act, that question blew them, oh, you're Chinese, so you excluded, you can come in. You're Japanese, also you have to go to
Right.
the camp now. So that
Right.
question itself is also a quick identifier to
Right.
know what group they belong to and then what kind of discrimination policy we have
Mm-hmm.
towards them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another layer of that. And
Yeah.
then nowadays, in more kind of modern context, in a very multicultural society, the question is more and more also to have another function is to recognize the complex identities of many individuals. Because
Mm,
now there's a lot of people maybe in mixed race, maybe they're from very multicultural background, maybe they move a lot since they
right.
were young, and maybe they don't necessarily identify with a single place of origin or even one single race. So that
Right.
question, um, because of the complexity, many people find it confusing. So people just, oh, you look, as you just mentioned, oh, you look racially ambiguous. So where are you from? Is for people to kind of have a really reductive and insensitive
Yep.
way to
Mm-hmm.
identify people because it's easier for them. Again,
Right. It is lazy. It's a form of laziness.
he's very
It's
lazy. He's very
yeah.
insensitive and again
Mm-hmm.
reductive because you
Mm-hmm.
look okay because you look racial ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to understand it. I just want a simple answer. So I just let me ask where you from.
Exactly.
So I have one simple answer, and I don't have to keep my mind on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that's kind of in general how that question has been used and what
Mm,
it's for. And again,
mm-hmm.
mostly is really for white people, categorize people that they don't understand so they can better to colonize them or to racially discriminate them.
Right. Exactly. as much as it comes across as like, and I'm speaking to white people in particular, as much as we think we're being curious about a person, we're actually not. I remember being in a cab with my aunt. We were in Vegas, and there was our cab driver. He was wearing a turban, so culturally, he had a cultural identifier marker. And I've stopped asking this question, "Where are you from?" But she's sitting right next to me. She's like, "So where are you from?" And I'm just cringing in the back. He's like, "Oh well, I've been in Nevada for 30 years, but I'm originally from, and he said the country." And so, and then of course she jumped on the bandwagon. "Oh, wow. Well, that sounds amazing," and blah, 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 blah. But it was one of those instances where, as someone sitting next to her, seeing my own response to someone, like a person of a cultural, like a visual minority or someone, I was cringing because I heard it, and I was cringing because I know that I've said it too. But it just assumed he wasn't a local. It assumed that he was from somewhere else, and he necessarily didn't belong here. Even though if I were to ask my aunt, she'd probably say, no. Like she definitely has a heart for people. However, that's the blinders that we have as white people. We don't understand the implications of those questions and what we're actually saying and how that actually separates someone from time and location, because already we've said, you don't belong here.
My whole life is here, and yet you're asking me all this question, and where does that come from? Why you have to ask me any of this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we have to. Yeah. Go ahead.
It is. Yeah. And that question also had this psychological impact. It's not just a question. It's more than a question, people.
Yes. Words have power. They have so much power. Yes.
I mean, look at the power we have. We're making a podcast.
I know. If I said I just farted, all of y'all are going to be thinking how stinky that is and how no one else is in the room to smell it. So words have anyway, all I have to say, words have implication. I didn't just fart, by the way.
But I fart glitter.
Oh, you fart glitter. You're a unicorn?
Yeah. I'm gay.
Amazing.
Yes, so
I want to fart glitter. I'm still on fire.
Anyway, yes, words has power. Definitely.
Yes.
That's why we're making a podcast, because we want to use our words to make a difference, hopefully good difference.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we are not doing a good job, you're
Power
welcome to leave a comment.
Yeah,
leave a comment, so we can dish it out.
Yeah. We'll respond. We'll make sure you know where we stand.
Exactly. Because that question, for example, one of the very obvious psychological impact is the microaggression within that question. Where are you from is often seen as a very subtle, often unintentional form of discrimination that conveys negative or hostile messages to the receiver. Because, as all we mentioned, that question is already assumed.
Yes.
That you're not like me. You're not one of us.
Yes.
You are the other. You are the me and them. You are the them. You are not me.
Yes. Can I tell you? Yeah. Go ahead.
Go on. No,
can I tell you how many times I meet people, other white people, that question never gets brought up?
When you ask,
when I'm with other white people, it never gets brought up. No one's asking me. I'm not asking them. There's not this impulse, right? And I would say that impulse is still there within me. But you're absolutely right, because if anyone were to really be honest and self-examine and say, oh, when I'm in conversation with people of my own, maybe race, right? If I'm going to talk with another white person, do I actually ask this question? Probably 99.9% of the time, no. You don't.
Yeah.
So already, even just by that,
unless they have like an accent or maybe dress something, unless they have very obvious differences of them that differentiate as like the other white person, maybe you would ask.
Maybe you will.
But if they dress similar to you, or like they have a similar accent to you, 99% of the time you would not ask that person where they're from.
Exactly. So that's a clear indicator that already we are assuming that person is from here. You're in. I don't need to know where you're from because you're from here, where I'm from, right? Yeah. Whereas with with this question, the microaggression, like you said, it is a form of discrimination, and it's negative. And it can be unconsciously done and unintentional. Does that mean unintentional things are wrong, can be wrong? Yes, they can.
They
We do
really
them all the
can.
time. Yeah.
We do a lot of unconscious things,
Yes.
unintentional things that are really wrong.
Yes,
Especially
we
a
do.
lot of, like, you have to understand discrimination is taught.
Yes.
Racism is taught. A lot of things that you
Yes.
do that you think that you assume are wrong, that are taught you or had influence on you since you were a little kid.
Exactly.
You know,
And
media.
yeah. And even I would add to that, just by observing the world around you. It is very quickly, even kids can distinguish. They're like, oh, I noticed that like teacher doesn't pick on me as much as teacher picks on Johnny. And Johnny has brown skin, right? Like that's just learned in the systems that we operate in, like the banks, loans, education, health, infrastructure. It is all there,
It's all there. It's very
Yeah.
obvious. Not great. Yes. And like this kind of microaggression eventually also have like actual impact on people's identity, like how they identify themselves.
Yeah.
Like for many people from a minority group or have like an immigrant background, this question implies that we don't truly belong in their current country.
Yeah.
If they kept being asked where they're from, because you're questioning their identity, you're questioning their sense of belonging. So obviously, this research shows, again, we put the link on our website, this research showed that it had a negative impact on people's self-esteem and life satisfaction and will cause identity denial. And all of this ultimately will even lead to depression as well.
Yeah, which can lead to suicide, which can lead to a host of health problems. Like it's all interconnected, and that's
It's all
not
interconnected. Yeah, so that
life
question of
for
where you're
anyone.
from, where are you from, is not just a simple, innocent, curious question. It
No.
actually has a lot of implication. Like again, it might even actually lead to death.
Yeah,
Now, I know it sounds
absolutely.
dramatic, but it actually is.
But it does.
If you look
It
at
does.
research.
Yeah. These kinds of microaggressions, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever, like late at night, you hear your sink, your faucet, or your bathtub, and it's just like slowly dripping. It's like bloop, 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 bloop. And you're just like, oh, I just need to ignore it. But eventually it just gets to you, and eventually you like tighten the knob or whatever. That's microaggressions. Like it actually, over time, it can fill that bathtub with water and make everything overflow.
We all have to be mindful of asking any
Yeah.
question. But of course, what if you're still curious? What if you really do want to know where they're from? Or you just, maybe you realize something of maybe the accent of they wear or something they mentioned is very interesting and you want to follow on it, but you're curious where they're from in the sense of maybe the following question, if they are not from the country they're from, that will be offensive. So you just need to know so that whether you can continue the conversation rather than you really want to bother them. There's ways to really ask that question without asking that question if you just really want to know, without that abrupt, again, insensitive question of literally asking, where are you from? Where are you really from?
There's
And now, there's other ways. Yeah. And now we'll give you tips. Get your pen and paper.
Yeah, get your pen and
And
paper.
then get your pen and paper. And then
Memorize
also get your
this.
phone out. Get your phone out, ready to e-transfer us the money because we're giving you actual
Yes, yeah.
so tips that you better pay us for this educational moment.
Yeah, Hostion is spelled Hostion.
Yes, that's hostionho@gmail.com. I will accept any donation
Amazing.
for all this work. Yes.
Yeah. And can I say before we get into the list, because this will be really, really helpful, I think, for myself, even my husband, because we were having a conversation about this, but also there is so much more to a person than where they're from. Like there's so much more that makes a person a person. Like why is this the default? Let's get beyond this. And if you are, like to your point, really curious, you would ask other questions like, oh man, well, so what do you do for work? And do you enjoy your job? Or I don't know. There's just so many other things you can ask.
Yeah, what's your favorite childhood memory?
Yeah.
Where
do
do you
you
find
eat
to
your
relax?
boogers? I mean, important questions, right?
Yeah, how's the childhood is like for you,
Yes,
Do you
tell me
play
about
with
your
sand and
mom.
mud?
It turns
And
into a
tell
therapy session.
Yeah, what about your parents? How's the relationship then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're closer to
Oh,
your mom or to your dad?
yeah.
Why is that?
Exactly.
Who do you love the most?
Yeah,
Or hate the
exactly.
most?
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Like there's so many
exactly.
things.
There
Yeah,
are so many things.
I know sometimes like we have this impulse to kind of simplify things like in our
Yes.
mind because like if oh I feel like because if I know where they're from, I can put them in a box. I think that's a
Yes.
lot of time how our brain works. Or if
It
you're from
does.
India,
It
if you're from
does.
Korea, if you're from Senegal, then I can just put you in a box. Okay, you're African, you're Asian. So
Right,
you
right,
probably like this
right.
kind of food, you're probably into this kind of sports. It just
Yeah.
really easily categorize people. But people, no, don't do that. But
No.
people are very different.
And very complicated and
They're very
multi-layered,
complicated. Yeah, don't.
just like you are, right? I would
Yeah,
hate to be assumed that I am X, Y, and Z because I'm simply from America, right? Just like anyone
yeah,
else would want to be assumed that, all of these stereotypes that aren't necessarily true because we're removing that
exactly.
individuality. And like you said, it's lazy listening. It's lazy cognitive engagement.
Hmm.
And it is easy for us to do that. So, Hoshin, what are the do's and don'ts? Let's go through these. I'm excited.
Let's get into it then. The do's and don'ts.
Yes, baby.
First, if you're
Okay.
really curious of where they're from, just let the natural report unfold. Let them tell
Mm,
you, or
yeah.
let them give you hints, or let them give you that final answer. You don't have to really
Disclosure.
ask that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
If you naturally ask the question of what their favorite food is, what their favorite place to visit, where they're gonna visit, during holidays, eventually you might get there.
Yeah.
Very possibly you
Exactly.
will. If you're
Yeah.
having a good question, like
Yeah.
good conversation, like
Hmm.
you will eventually get there. So you don't have to really ask that question.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
definitely
just let a
do not.
person be a person and just have a normal conversation.
Conversation, yeah.
Amazing. Light bulbs are going off everywhere.
Amazing, right? Just let
I
the conversation
know.
unfold. Wow, never heard of that.
Yes. Don't control the narrative. What?
What? Make it about me?
What?
So yes.
That's great.
But if let's say the natural report didn't really get there, there's also a way to ask that question without really asking, because you can ask a question like, also, what is your story?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, how did you get to here today? Like
Yeah.
what makes what how has life happened to you and make you standing here with me today having this conversation with me?
That's beautiful. I like
All these
that.
things, when you
Yeah.
call home, what is home to you? What does it mean to you? You
Right.
know,
Right.
and
Exactly.
then you can maybe get
Hmm.
that information from it.
Yeah.
Or you can
Or
also go start with yourself first, tell them where you're from, what's your story, blah blah blah, and then let's see whether they're willing to also share the information.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
you can
awesome.
invite them to
Yeah.
share as well. But of course, if they don't want to share, don't push.
Right. No, for
Definitely don't
sure.
push.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think often we forget, like, if we want intimacy in relationships, if we want vulnerability, if we want connection, sometimes that requires us to be
To
vulnerable
do it
first,
first. Yeah.
right? Because then that enables the conversation to flow. And then it also puts that person also in a place of like understanding where we're coming, where our headspace is, where,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What we meaning, like you also give them example. Oh, like I'm sharing right now. That's what I want. Actually, I just want to do want to know where you're from, know your story. That's why I'm sharing. You
Hmm.
when you start first sharing, you give people like you showing your intent, so they
Yeah,
know what you're
exactly.
trying to do. Why
Hmm.
do you want
Hmm.
to know anything about him?
Hmm.
Because you're trying to connect.
Right,
Show them
exactly.
your intent. Show them your all your cards, and
Yeah, your
that's
humanity.
yes. Oh my God.
Yes.
Exactly. Snap,
Mm-mm.
snap, snap. Finger clap.
We are finger clapping, folks. You can't see it, but we are. We're pretty good at it. Hoshin taught me.
Exactly. I taught you that.
You
Mhm.
did. You
Um,
did.
and there's also other ways, for example, like you can let people self-identify and self-disclose their identity.
Yeah,
And whatever they say, just accept the response. You don't
exactly.
necessarily have to ask any question. You don't have to even lead anything. You don't have to share
Mm-mm.
anything.
Hmm.
Again, just let it unfold. And if they decided to identify and disclose themselves, and just
Right.
okay and move on.
Hmm.
You know, you don't make comments like, oh my God, oh, you're from China. I love dumplings.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've been to China. Like, do not do any of that. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
don't sometimes like trying to relate is good, but I think there's degree of relate. If someone says, oh, I'm from China,
Yes.
and then
Well
you
said.
finally say anything about China, that is not relating. That is
Exactly.
you being stereotypical. You're
Yes.
stereotyping what a
Yes.
Chinese means. It's, oh, you're from China. Okay. We can move
Yes.
on. Then you can
Yeah.
ask, oh, what do you like about China?
Exactly.
You know? And then
Yeah.
maybe if they actually say dumpling, then you can say, oh, I love dumpling
Yeah.
too. You know, don't say
Exactly.
because they say
Yes.
China, is immediate thing about dumpling. That's
Yes.
not how you
Yes.
relate to people.
Yes, exactly. There are ways to relate without alienating certain parts of that person or like
No stereotyping.
or stereotyping them. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So
Absolutely.
that's exactly. And of
Mm.
course, if you really let your curiosity get the best of you, apologize.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't just say, oh my God, sorry, I did not mean to ask that question. I really did not mean to ask where you're from. I was just curious. But again, you don't have to answer that. You know, say something
Yeah.
like that. Just apologize to
Yeah.
intent and you see whether they are willing to start the conversation with afresh.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. Allow it to be shaped by the natural conversation and not jumping ahead. I mean, I think in many ways, white supremacy or even colonialism is like we're the master of everything. We got to know everything and we've got to kind of wrap our heads completely around it so we can make a decision whether this is good or bad. But that's not actually the way that we were meant to think about things. You know, we're meant to learn. We're meant to, you know, I did this exercise with my son. He does these like virtual exercises online. It's these like game exercises and they do these little cartoons after like math problems. And one of the things they did was like the way that you learn is by making mistakes because that actually there's like this neural connection that happens in your brain where your brain is like, oh, that's not how we do it. Okay, we're going to do it differently. And so actually making those mistakes, saying I'm sorry, understanding the more you lean into something and you actually, you know, try new things, your brain, that's how you learn. You never learn by just assuming or condensing or being lazy about it. You actually learn by trying to like making those mistakes, I guess, in some ways, and you know how to do it differently the next time. So yeah.
No, I agree. I remember some incidents like I also have asked very inappropriate questions or very private questions. It just flew out of my mouth because I let my curiosity took over me.
Yeah.
But sometimes, oh, so sorry. You really don't have to share that. You don't have to entertain me. You owe me nothing.
Yeah.
I was talking.
Yeah, I was talking with. So this is a little side story, but I was talking with a friend of mine, and she is from Japan, and we were talking about women's fashion. And so I don't know if you knew, like in the '60s, at least in the like on Turtle Island, like in North America, there were like the cone bras, where just like,
Madonna.
Like was it Madonna? It was like 1960s, late 60s fashion, where these cone bras.
Reference. Yeah, the only reference I have is Madonna.
Is Madonna. Okay. So there are, but you can look it up. Look up cone bra, North America. And you'll be able to see like women's shirts. It literally looked like there's cones sticking out, but that was the bra. And I asked her, I said, so fashion in Japan for women, did you guys, you know, go through the cone bra phase like we did? And she told me about like, traditionally, like with women's fashion, like they actually went through the like the flatter is better kind of fashion where it was better if everything was just kind of smushed down. But it was just it was really fun because we were just talking about women's fashion from our own country's perspectives. And because I didn't assume that of course everyone had cone bras, you know, that's just like women's fashion globally.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And I could ask, you know, and learn, you know, but it was a really great way to connect with my friend on a totally different level, you know, go cone bras.
You give them your side of the story and see what they want to unfold.
Yeah.
What they want to share.
Yeah, she thought it was hilarious because it is really hilarious. It's really disgusting. Like it's really weird. Yeah, it's really weird. Anyway.
The last thing I want to ask everyone to do is to educate yourself, obviously, on the issue of race, equity, diversity, inclusion, and decolonization.
Yes.
Because, again, this question in many ways is the product of inequality, of discrimination, of colonization. So put on all of that so you understand more of your own biases too, if you like to ask that question, and also understand their struggle. Why it's so hard? Why is like microaggression? when you ask that question to the other side. I think the more you understand it, the less you will actually ask that question, and the more you actually engage in better, equal, kind, and humane conversations with everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So well said. So well said, Hoshin. Yeah. I
Thank
mean,
you,
I
thank
think
you. I tried.
You are. You're a very good speaker. I really love hearing you.
Oh my God. Thank
But
you.
yeah, but no, it is these systems, like, people of color have understood for so long. But for white people, this is new for a lot of us because we've never been confronted with the reality of the worlds that we created that were really harmful, and we've just got to start changing it. So that starts with, like, just being aware of these systems that you grew up with and examining. And it's so important for your health and for people of color's health, for, like, everyone's health. Honestly.
I agree. Also, we are not trying to, like, point fingers, obviously, not to, like, make it personal. Like, we don't take it personal. We also understand every one of us is a product of the time, of our environment, of whoever's in power. You know, we're all products of that. So all the things that you know, that you do, that you behave are not necessarily because you want to, because that's
right. It's not like
because
you
a lot of it
chose
is
these systems.
you don't. You are taught that way. You're taught to, you know, ask a question. You're taught that is okay.
Absolutely.
But now you know from us, if the first time you heard it from us firsthand, that is not okay.
Yeah, it's not.
So now you know.
Yeah, and you have options. Hoshin, you just gave us, like, 5
just
different
listed.
ways. Just listed. Yeah.
So it really is not your fault unless from now on you still ask that question that it is your fault.
It is your fault.
As we told you now.
Yes. You need to go to the moon. I don't know.
Go to the moon. So yes, before this podcast, it's not your fault to ask that question, but from after this podcast, it's really your
accountability,
fault.
responsibility.
Exactly.
The more you know.
Keep asking.
And it is true. Once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. Once you start learning it, you can't unlearn. Like, it's really powerful. It's really, really powerful. And so
I know knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. And you are fabulous. Thank you, Hoshin, for this episode.
And I am powerful. Because
yes, you are.
So smart.
You're a fab power. Pow fab. Pow fab. Ooh.
And I'm so humble.
And you poop glitter. These are new things.
I'm a
These
unicorn,
are great things. Well, unicorn man, we are going to get to our Canadian Salad Pop quiz.
Yay!
Yes.
Pop quiz is my favorite part.
Yes. And we're really hoping, so I don't know if you've been, if y'all have been listening to our previous episodes, we've been getting, like, the same quiz questions. And the goal is to have separate ones, but have it be a surprise. So hopefully today we'll see what happens. So Hoshin, my love, would you like to go first?
Yes. My question is very interesting, actually, based on the 2021 census.
Oh, ooh.
Yes. Again, data. We love data.
Data.
So 2021 census has this kind of self-report survey asking people their ethnic or cultural origins.
Ooh.
So I asking you, based on that census, can you name the top 3 origins that people
most
will
recent
self-report?
data. Okay.
Yeah, the 2021 census. Yeah, the top 3.
Top 3. I'm going to say
again the whole Canada. Yeah.
All of Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say China.
Again, we asked the whole country, their ethnic or cultural origins.
Oh, sorry. Okay, see, this is me. Okay.
Yeah.
Ethnic.
The whole country. We asked the whole country self-report their
Europe
origins. That is really broad.
Okay. The UK, France, and I'm going to say the States, America.
The state. Okay. You got one right. The top 3, you got one right.
I got one right? Okay.
Yeah, you got one right. The first is actually Canadian. Most people here identify themselves as Canadian cultural origin. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I know.
Interesting.
People,
okay.
The first is Canadian.
Interesting.
Most people here, 5.7 million. And then is English, which is UK. I'll give you that.
Okay. Thank you.
5.3 million.
Very
And
generous.
then the third is Irish.
Really? Wow. I
Irish.
never would have thought Irish. Wow.
Yeah. And then it's Scottish at the 4th and French at 5th.
Oh, French is working its numbers. Their numbers are dwindling.
Yeah, the
Sorry, not
Quebec,
sorry.
the Quebecois. So
Anyway. Wow. Well, very
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. My question. This is a survey that came out this year, actually. So May 2024, there was a survey put out
Wow.
by Preply. I know. And they surveyed 1,000 people. And the question was, which accent is the most sexy?
Oh,
So what accent
Italian?
from this one? Okay, is that your final answer?
Yes.
Okay. That's the third sexiest. Do you want to try the first?
French? Is it
Okay.
French the first? I feel like that's so cliche. Is it
No,
French?
it's not French.
Spanish.
No, but that is like number 5. Okay.
What?
So number 1 is British. British accent's the sexiest. I know.
No.
Rude.
What?
Australian.
That is such no way.
Funny? And Irish.
No,
And Irish.
I'm sorry. Is that a joke?
No,
Is it a
Canada.
joke?
Canada got 11% being the sexiest because there's like 4 or 5 different kind of accents that circulate in Canada. We didn't really talk.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
Okay,
and then
not-
America isn't even on this list. So there you go. That's
Well,
how
American
that's
is
how
on.
attractive American accents are.
Oh.
So
Not that I'm like a Irish or English or hater, but Australian hater. I just don't find the accent. I mean, English I can kind of tell because English, I don't know, is like this stereotype of like Shakespeare or like plays or Bridgerton. I don't know.
yeah,
Kind
part of it
I can
is
see-
colonization, right?
Yeah,
It's
colonization,
this-
a power of a
Mhm.
privilege. I can see that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Australian, I don't see it.
I don't either, and I don't know if these are just like this study doesn't tell us like the demographic of people who
Maybe
surveyed
a lot
this.
of them are
yeah.
Australian who said
But
Australian.
probably or from the UK. So it's not good data, but we'll post the link anyway because that's out there. It was a news article. So anyway, well, thanks for joining us. Leave us a comment and sign up for our newsletter. Every month we send you little bits and tricks about Canadian Salad episodes, and then every Friday we do drop a new dishes out where we're dishing out comments and responses related to terrible comments that people make about immigrants. So stay tuned. And
Or funny.
yeah, or
No,
funny.
these comments are so funny because they are so ignorant.
So ridiculous. Yeah.
So
exactly.
ridiculous. So they make it funny. I was like, is that person for real?
Unfortunately, they are, but we will. But listen, they're really good, and they get.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few good reactions. So
Good. Yeah. Listen
yes, yeah. Anyway, join us
We
next
will
week for another new episode
Yeah.
on Tuesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hostion and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avetyan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Drinklin production.